Good evening. I'm Tyler. I run the product team at Lively. Who's the clicker guy? Right back there. Okay, go ahead. And we help older adults remain living independent longer through activity tracking. So when we looked at the market of aging and what the opportunities were, overwhelmingly what older adults want is to remain living in their homes as long as possible. And it turns out that 80% of US older adults remain living independently for life in their home. Good. And further to that, there's a connection problem. There are all these older adults living alone, say in Idaho, and their adult children have moved to California, New York, and there's a connection problem. Social isolation is just as big of an issue as not taking your medication or not getting enough exercise. So with that comes awkward conversations with your family. Mom, are you taking your pills? Dad, have you gotten enough activity today? Have you gotten outside of the house? A lot of nagging. And at the same time, the older adult is wondering, am I going to be put into a home? I want to stay living at my own home. What's going to happen to me? And now the only solution they really have is help, I've fallen and I can't get up. A technology that hasn't been changed in the last 20 or 30 years, and neither has their marketing. So we came up with Lively. What Lively is a cellular-based hub that connects with 6 activity tracking sensors that we place around the home on different inanimate objects. And what we can do then is gain a recognition of a pattern around activity. So a sensor on the refrigerator, on the remote control, on the pillboxes, and we can tell then, oh, Grandma missed her medication at 10 a.m. this morning. Or typically, Grandma has a lot of activity in the kitchen in the morning, and today there was none. So perhaps the care worker or the adult child or the grandchildren, whoever's part of her circle, should be let known that something's amiss. So we send an email, an SMS, or a push notification to them, letting them know that they should be working on, they should be helping Grandma out in some way. With all the products that are on the market today, we always call them big, beige, and boring. You can always imagine the big garage door openers sitting around their neck. So what we focused on was beautiful design, something that the older adult would be proud to have in their home. Quick, easy setup, as well as no internet required. Broadband adoption rates of those over the age of 70 are somewhere around the 20% mark, and I think that might be even aggressive. So in this case, we're cellular-based, so no internet is required. What's next for Lively is adding a few pieces. So currently, we're able to respond to sort of overarching changes in activity, so over days, weeks, and months. But what we plan to actually do is introduce an activity tracking pendant. And what that pendant is going to be able to do is actively detect falls, as well as have a button for emergencies if there is one, but also be an activity tracker. So a huge problem today is that older adults don't wear their emergency buttons. They don't want to, it's not charged, it sits on the countertop. So by making it also an activity tracker, we encourage the older adult to improve their health by giving them encouragement. Today, you walked up the same height as the Eiffel Tower, or this week you walked 2 football fields. Way to go. And so that way, they're encouraged to wear something that is uplifting instead of a sign of weakness. So we're Lively. We launched in September, and we launched in Australia a couple weeks ago, and we'll be launching in the UK in a couple of months. We're looking for engineers as well as collaborators. So I know all of you have some amazing ideas. We're not only cellular-based, but Bluetooth LE. So I know a lot of your products are probably based on that technology. So would love to chat.
Thank you, Tyler. All right. Questions? All right.
I think this is a wonderful idea. I'm involved with an Aging in Place meetup, so I'd love to talk to you after.
Fabulous, sure.
Now, does the user have any interaction with your end at all?
How do you mean?
with all of these
With the sensors.
sensors, there's the,
How do they interact with them?
Yeah.
So we have 6 sensors currently, 2 pillbox sensors, 2 kitchen sensors, one for the refrigerator, another one for another object in the kitchen, as well as a custom sensor, which people put on remote controls, the bathroom door, rocking chairs, anything that's a good indicator of activity around the home. So their normal patterns don't change at all. They're just these little sensors that stick on the objects, and their interaction with those objects is how we understand their normal routine. One thing I didn't mention, which you might be interested in, I talked a little bit about social isolation. So how we combat social isolation is through another piece of our product called Livelygram. And Livelygram is where that circle that I talked about can upload photos and notes to our app or to our website. We physically take those photos, print them out, and then mail them to the older adult every 2 weeks. We joke, we say all the older adult has to know how to do is how to use their mailbox, because social isolation is such a problem, and every single product out there only deals with the older adult being monitored, where we want to take it from a different angle, improving connection over just the monitoring.
Hi.
Hi.
I work for a company that's based in China.
Okay.
And China actually is going to be the most aged nation in the world.
Yes, it's a tsunami.
People
Yes.
65 years or older.
Yes.
Years. So I'm interested in this product, but I'm wondering, because you mentioned that you have launched in UK and Australia.
We're about to launch in the UK. We've already launched in Australia.
Global, cloud-based infrastructure that can support different countries.
Yes, so absolutely. China's a tricky one for lots of different reasons. For them just to log into our website, we'd have to get over that darn wall. But we still think there's some opportunity there. Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about, because you mentioned it's a connection problem, right? So are you getting the family member involved in this, the elderly parents?
Yeah, I mean, it was a risk when we launched back in September. We didn't know what type of contribution rate we would even have. Our contribution rate is strong, but what we're most proud of is that our #1 customer service call is, when am I getting my next Livelygram? So we can tell really where we're making a difference, where, especially once we get the pendant, having the ability to react to those emergencies at the same time is really just the icing on the cake. Hi.
Hey, so you're saying if they do something that's outside their normal routine, that say something's up, what do you do when it's a brand new product for them? Do you take a service, do you know what the regular routine is?
Fabulous question. So during the activation, there's 4 easy questions that we ask. Basically, are there any specific medication times that grandma needs to be taking her medication, or grandpa? How much typical activity is there in the kitchen? Is it at least 1 piece of activity, or maybe at least 2 pieces of activity a day? So that's what we do at the very beginning to give them a little bit of structure. What we're just going to be releasing is our learning algorithm that over about 6 weeks, we can gain a really good understanding of what normal routine is, and then from there be much more active in how we send out notifications, or rather when we send out notifications. So it's really a two-step process. Where's the mic? There he is.
So I have kind of a 2-part question.
Great.
One is, what sort of baseline do you need to actually say you're able to track what their standard activity is? And the second part is, how do you distinguish between actions people need to do versus accidental actions? In other words, how
Yeah.
is your algorithm?
Yeah, good. So in terms of a baseline, I mean, a baseline is nothing. So if they have no interaction with something, that's the baseline. It's nothing. Is that your question?
What I mean is, how many days or how many weeks do you actually need to establish a trend of a certain
About 6 weeks.
time?
About 6 weeks. And then your second question.
How do you distinguish between an action that needs to do versus dropping the pill bottle, dropping the remote?
I mean, over even the shorter medium term, accidental interaction with objects is quite common then. It's rare that it would happen on a one-off. And if it did, then it was really just a one-off. So it's not that big of a deal. We take much more of an aggregate stance on data.
That wouldn't trigger an alarm.
Absolutely not. At this point, especially at the beginning when they first set their first bit of criteria, it's really lack of activity that sets off the notification. So lack of activity in the kitchen, grandma watches The Price is Right every morning at 10, and that remote control did not move today. That's a reason for a notification.
Thank you, Tyler. We're just, we used to attack him afterwards and ask him all the questions.
Thank you very much.